We are live. We are live. Welcome to a Saturday night college football's peek around the corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this college football rebel outpost with a donation. Hit the $ where you make a comment, and I'll get to you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Memorial Intersection and Kurt Gowdy State Park. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. So, Greg, why are you invading our space on a beautiful Saturday evening? We got, I can't, again, we are in the Holy Smokes Theater. We are in the Holy Smokes Theater. The drama is the invasion of private equity. We started this a couple months ago, I think. I don't remember. You can go to our YouTube channel and look at the first private invasion drama episode in the Holy Smokes Theater. I talked about a public a meeting. How do I say this? Let's back up. On December 29th, I gave a peek around the corner that there is going to be a meeting, a very important meeting on the subject of private equity in the early spring of 2025. And I could not give much details on it, and I still can't. And quite honest, there's a lot that we don't know. And then there was a meeting that is out there that is going to happen on January 20th in Atlanta, GA. I talked about that in an early peak episode 51. For those members, there's still a lot of members who haven't watched that episode, but I dropped that episode, I think, a week ago at this point. I talked a little bit about that episode to everybody before our last watch party. Not the Gopher game, but no, it was the Gopher game, right? Yesterday. Yikes. Whatever. We did talk a little bit about it, but I know not a whole lot of people were at that watch party. So we're going to be talking about it live on this live show, as I promised. So as you can imagine, I have been trying to figure out what we're trying to figure out when it comes to this large story that is going to be dominating 2025 in college football off season. This is a very difficult story. It ain't like the other stories that I've helped either broke or broken or given you the accurate peek around the corner. This story, as I said before, no question about it. Unfortunately, here at Peek Around the Corner, at some point, we're going to be taking an L on this story. We're going to try to do the best we can to provide you the best peek around the corner there is. But this is a story that is lathered in cloak and dagger, number one. There is a lot of moving pieces, number two. There's a lot of different, from what we can tell, there's a lot of different versions, a lot of different factions. There's some cross-pollination going on. And in my attempt I had two goals before we did a Holy Smokes Theater show again. Number one, to provide more clarity to you all. And number two, to provide more clarity to myself. So I went in and attempted to do that. And to be honest with you, the people that I'm talking with, number one, are a lot more intelligent than I am, as you can imagine. Number two, they are, you would probably be surprised. They would be in positions to either know or to try to know, but again, they're following all the different stories, all the different rabbit holes. I had one particular person who did reach out to me, and I'm of course going to protect the source with everything I got, and I will. Who you would a person that you would all be familiar with, tried to explain to me what is going on right now. Not what could be happening 2 months from now, or 3 months from now, or 4 months from now, or 5 months from now, because this could go in all different directions. And the stories will be written on that, on all those possible different directions. I think a lot of I know there is some knowledge out there that is embargoed. I can't break some stuff loose. Some stuff we've been able to break loose, but then I'm embargoed. And then there is the information that I feel like I've been able to share with you, which I have, which hasn't been a whole lot, but it's probably been more than anybody else because no one else is really talking about this. Because they either can't or they don't even know what's going on. But I had it explained to me large egg versus small egg. It took me a while to understand. And no, it's not the large egg versus the small egg is not a large institution versus a small institution. It's not a large brand versus a small brand. I am going to get to it. I am going to get to it on what all that means, but that's not what it means. It means the ability to crack a large egg versus the ability to crack a small egg. That explains the January 20th meeting. That explains the meeting last year in Dallas, Texas. And that is going to drive us to this early spring meeting, which I do not believe at this point has been publicly reported on. Except here at Peek Around the Corner. And I haven't given you guys much. And I really can't. And I don't know much. I just know a little bit more than what I've already told you. And that little bit more I cannot say. And it's not all that valuable anyways. But I've done what I could so far on that hot bubble of action in the early spring. But I can explain more on what is going on in January 20th. And a lot of you haven't heard about January 20th because either you haven't watched episode 51, you're not a member, or you are a member, you haven't watched it, or you weren't at that watch party. So a lot of you are going to be hearing this for the very first time about a meeting, a private equity meeting on January 20th. I've had a lot of people start to find out about this January 20th meeting. And they've been DMing me on X. And that's great. I got no problem with that. But then I tell them I've been talking about this January 20th meeting. So we are going to go more into depth about it tonight. So again, if you haven't heard about it, don't worry about it. We're going to catch you up on it. It's not the big one. It's definitely not the big one. But it's an important one. And it was explained to me why it is. I'm just going to give an example. And then we got a whole bunch to get to, and then we're going to go back in the Holy Smokes Theater. Because I haven't really explained anything yet, but I'm just going to give you an example. there is a father of an NFL football player who is a quarterback. This father has an investment group that is knocking on individual athletic department doors, trying to get a private equity deal done with them. And it's not even the school of which his son went to. This is strictly business. There is a lot of money and a lot of different people and a lot of different groups pounding on a lot of doors. So it is literally impossible to know what the hell's going on. But here at Peek Around the Corner, we are going to try to provide you the best information as soon as possible. We are going to talk about large egg versus small egg, because that seems to be driving what is going on right now. Okay, first of all, we are going to talk about, just for a little bit, because we got a few days left to go, the semifinals. We're going to talk about these two games just a little bit. Now, we're just hitting on it. We're going to hit on it just a little bit. We're going to look at the lines. These are the lines we're going to use. Greg the Gold. Yes, I said it. Greg the Gold. I'm 10-2. I'm 10-2 in these playoff and bowl games. So we're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to talk about the chatter behind the curtain on the future playoff format, the latest of what we've been hearing at Peek Around the Corner. And unfortunately, because I'm the only person in the country, the host of the most unpopular college football YouTube channel in the country, I'm the only person who likes how it is right now. I do not want change, but we're going to get it. We are going to get change. Now, I'm hoping it's just one change, but it sounds like there's going to be a couple of changes. It sounds like 2026 is going to be looking different than 2025. So we're going to get to that. But first, we're going to talk about the semifinal games. I want to say hi to everybody who's come on in. I do appreciate it so very much. Jose's in the house. Kerry Gold Nose. Ryan Brooks. Mr. Buckeye. Jared Jones. Osceola Trucker. Stormy Cyclone. George Holton. Thanks for coming on in. R. Webb. Colorado. Buffalo. Richard L. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. Do you put cheese on eggs? I do somewhat. Mireya does not like cheese on eggs. We've been married for 22 years. First couple years of our marriage, when I made her scramble eggs, sometimes I'd put a little cheese in it. She did not say anything. She did not complain. You know, she came from, grew up in Mexico City, lived the first 28 years of her life in Mexico City. And where she's from, they don't put cheese on eggs. Not in their scrambled eggs. Not in their over medium, over easy. She does use a lot of cheese, Quesco, Fresco, Blanco, crumbling cheese with their green beans and somewhat with their eggs when she mixes it all together. But she doesn't mix it into her scrambled eggs. She finally told me a couple years in the marriage, she said, Greg, do not put cheese in my scrambled eggs. So I got the message. Secret Agent is in the house. Bo Weevil. Steve, Bearcat Steve. January weather definitely set in Northwest Ohio. It's cold. And again, A whole lot of people going through a whole lot of bad weather out there. My prayers and thoughts are with you. A lot of snow, a lot of bad stuff going on across the middle of the country. And that cold air is going to reach into the south here real soon. Kyle Visser is in the house. Black rain, it's cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. Friends call me Sean. Only scrambled eggs. Stephen Vitt is in the house. CFB Plus, which came first, Greg, the chicken or the egg? I don't want to offend anybody's beliefs or non-beliefs, but for me, it is the chicken. The chicken came first. Bill G is in the house. Tumasta is in the house. Joyful One. I like the new title graphics. Because Christopher Mercado, a PATC family member, drew up a couple different graphics when it comes to the Holy Smokes Theater. Thank you, Joyful One. Appreciate it. Thank you, Christopher Mercado, wherever you are. Breaking news. Yep, we covered it last night, Mr. Nathan Campbell. We sure did. Jan Holk is in the house. Thanks for coming on in. Matt Schnuck is here. Jeremy Nork. When we doing playoff semifinal analysis, we're going to do a little bit tonight. We're going to touch on it. We're going to just touch on it. We got some time. When are the games? Thursday, Friday? Yeah, we got some time. Jeff Olson, the Evil Badger, Saturday night with PATC. Live on a Saturday night? Yes. And it's not even a watch party. How about them apples? We're not even doing a watch party. Anthony Carlson. By the way, I do apologize for those who were offended on how I acted yesterday during the Gophers' win over the Hokies. I apologize to those who were offended because I acted like a homer big time last night. I got a little crazy. I got a little upset with my Golden Gophers. We pulled out a win versus a very depleted Virginia Tech team. So, anyways, Lego Gators is in the house. Sean is here. John Dry, Connecticut fan. Charlie Atwood, we are Penn State. We are Penn State. James Foster, go Sun Devils. What a season. What a season. John Dry is here. Don Scruggs is here. Go ahead and poke the bear. Go ahead and poke the SEC bear. Because we're going to be coming at you next year. I'm not poking nothing, Don Scruggs. I'm just an innocent fat guy from Minnesota. That's all I am. I get everybody mad at me pretty much equally, I believe. Keep Chopping is in the house. I don't know what that means. I do not know what comment that is. Marcus Williams. Mr. Wolverine, good evening, Greg. Good evening to you, Mr. Williams. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. J-Math 1978. I've been just catching heat from the Irish fans on being independent. That could be the next big thing in realignment if teams like Texas and Alabama go independent. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think we're going in that direction at all. We are down to 2 independent programs. It's much more valuable to bundle your content. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole tonight, but I do not see Texas or Alabama going independent. No way, no how. Sean is in the house. No comment on that. What came first, the large egg, the small egg, or the mayo that was dumped on PJ Fleck? Kyle Visser is in the house. It is cold in Minnesota. Let's see what it is here. What is the temperature in Minnesota? Right now it is 7. It feels like 2. Not much wind right now. Not much wind. So we're okay. We are live. We are live. Illini Ted is in the house. No, they're not trying to keep it under the radar. They're not. The answer is no. On this one. This one, they're actually, and this gets to our large egg versus small egg. This is, they're reaching out on this one. Illini Ted. They're reaching out on this one. The SEC and the Big Ten and Notre Dame say private equity is a terrible idea. CFB plus small egg is individual, institutional, private equity. Big A is conference-wide private equity deal. That is his guess. Arch knocking on Nike's door. Clinton Moses is in the house. Thanks for coming on in. Brick Bat, gig 'em. Gig 'em. Devil Frog is in the house. -1 wind chill. I don't have that. Maybe it's a little warmer from where I'm at. Yeah, I don't got -1. I got 2. I got 2 above. That's a 3-degree difference. You're probably a little colder. Hey, Jeff, the Evo Badger, Jeff Olson, I have been so hot with my picks. I have been burning it. I'm probably warming up the air around here in Maple Grove versus where you are in Minneapolis or close to Minneapolis. No, I do not, MBM. No, I do not. Chili Peppers, Grant, absolutely. Jeff Morgan, Mr. Mountaineer, is in the house. Ray is here. Okay, Roger Dodger, appreciate you coming on in. Expedition Greg, Ron, Scatabo. Yeah, he was awesome. Okay, thanks for everybody coming on in. Let's take a look at the semifinal games first. And then we're going to talk about the future playoff format. And then we are going to go into the Holy Smokes Theater to provide a little bit more of an update. Remember, it accumulates, it changes, when these are going to get publicly reported, the PATC family is going to be way ahead. Way ahead. So, providing another update tonight. I had somebody explain something to me, and you all are probably going to understand it more than I have, that I did. But anyways, let's go to Penn State, Notre Dame. So the line that we are going to be officially using, when we make our picks against the spread is Notre Dame favored by 1.5. The Irish, the Fighting Irish, 1.5. Over under 46.5. The money line -130. Notre Dame. Jeremiah Love, he ain't. If he plays, he's not going to offer the Irish. He's a walking wounded. Jeremiah Love, the great Jeremiah Love. He was injured, nicked up going into the previous game, got injured against Indiana. Now, did it hurt? Did it crush Notre Dame against Georgia? Not on the surface, but I think under the surface it did. Remember how Notre Dame scored their points against Georgia. The kickoff return, the short field on a turnover. For the first time in a long time, Notre Dame was not effective with the run game with their great running backs. Riley Leonard was effective. Is he going to be able to do that against the Penn State Nittany Lions? I have been pro Notre Dame week after week after week after week after week. I have my doubts. I got my doubts. Now, I do, of course, have questions of Penn State. I have questions on Abdul Carter's health. I have questions. Oh boy, I am going to get crushed by Penn State fans when I say this, but I am a little... Drew Aller, he's incredibly talented. Now, come on, Penn State does not have the greatest wide receiver room. Notre Dame definitely does not. Bo Collins and Jordan Fajon and Greathouse. And I mean, it's good. It's okay. Penn State, it's good. But Penn State's juice is Tyler Warren. Kytron Allen, who is running that ball, baby. He is fresh. Mr. Allen, number 13, and Singleton, who's been struggling a little bit. But it's Drew Aller's, how do I say this? He throws the ball great. He's a very good, he's an athletic. He can get you that first down. But Drew Aller is also the dude who at times loses himself on the sidelines. He cannot afford to lose himself. He cannot afford to lose his cool against the Fighting Irish, against Xavier Watts. That is what I'm nervous about. I'm nervous about Drew Aller's intangibles. Penn State Nittany Lion fans, tell me how wrong I am. It's Drew Aller's intangibles that has got me worried. I saw him against the Gophers. Franklin had to sit him down. He had to sit him down. Penn State beat Minnesota by 1 point. Franklin had to sit Drew Aller down against USC. You got to give Penn State a whole lot of credit for coming back and beating USC by 3. You got to give Penn State all the credit in the world to get to the semifinal game. But I don't believe we can see this, what I would perceive as an intangible maturity weakness out of Drew Aller. I might be the only person who thinks this. But I got to be honest. The show is about authenticity. There's something about it that is worrying me. It's Drew Aller. He can run for that first down. He can throw it in a tight window. He does rally the guys, so it's not like he doesn't have anything going on intangible, but he loses it, man. While Riley Leonard has now grown up completely, Riley Leonard does not lose it. I haven't made my decision. I don't know where I'm going to go with this. I have no idea where I'm going to go with this. Two great football teams. If Jeremiah Love cannot, and I don't think he's going to be able to run, and Penn State can just focus on Jadarian Price, I don't know where I'm going with it. So I'm going to let it marinate. We got until next Thursday, Friday. What day is this game on? Thursday? This game on Thursday? Let me know in the chat. Is this game on Thursday? We've got time. Sean is saying yes. Okay. The Marcus Freeman and the James Franklin, I don't have anything. The team believes in them. There is nothing bad going on with Franklin or Freeman. Did Andy Koltonicky get a little too cute? Yeah, but that's Koltonicky. That's all baked in. He has elevated that offense. He has, and I don't know if he's got all the juice that people think he has to work with. But he's got it done. And Notre Dame, Mike Denbrock, I mean, you know how clunky the Irish offense has been? You guys know I was not a fan of Tommy Rees. You guys know that. I was not a fan of Tommy Rees, offensive coordinator. And he has come so close to getting head coaching jobs. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But Notre Dame's offense against the most difficult defenses can now operate. Before the last 10 years, Notre Dame's offense could never operate against the elite defenses. You remember Marcus Freeman was not allowed to bring in the offensive coordinator that he wanted to bring in a couple years ago? So they brought somebody else in, and that all went pear-shaped. And then Notre Dame finally committed to who Marcus Freeman wanted. Mike Denbrock. Same thing with Franklin, by the way. Franklin has finally got an offensive coordinator that he can work with. Now, I think some of that has been Franklin's issues, but whatever. We're sitting here in 2025. The Nittany Lions are in the semifinal. So Franklin and Freeman have got it going. They've got it going on. They're ready. I can completely understand all the confidence in the world in these two football programs among their football fans. But I've got worries all over the place. Number one is health. I mean, I haven't heard. I can't get anything on Abdul Carter. And I am considering Jeremiah Love out of this game. And that hurts. That hurts the Irish. And I don't think Penn State is going to try to do, well, we're going to go more into it here. I do not like the play calling of Georgia, as you guys know. I did not like with Georgia the touchdown drive that they had. They utilized their running back out of the backfield. They got the ball in the Frazier's hands. They threw it to Frazier. They threw it to Chase Jones. And they got the touchdown on 3 different plays right down the field. And they didn't go back to it. I think Georgia had a completely miscalculation. Notre Dame secondary is fantastic. Their defensive line is a little bit up, but still good. But Notre Dame was having difficulties recognition of the players coming out of the backfield on passing plays. And Georgia did not go back to it. Well, I tell you what, Andy Koltenick in Penn State are going to have guys coming out of the backfield constantly against Notre Dame. They're going to be lining up Tyler Warren somewhere in the backfield. Hell, they're going to have him as a wildcat, flipping it to somebody else, and Tyler Warren's going to go out. They're going to do all sorts of things under Andy Koltenick. He has so much pre-snap movement, it makes your head spin. So again, I think Notre Dame, I think there's a weakness there. And because they've lost guys on defense, Benjamin Morrison, Riley Mills, they've lost dudes, man. So again, now I go back to Penn State. I'm going back and forth, back and forth. Marcus Freeman said Love will play. Well, he's not going to say he's not going to play. He wants Penn State to think Love is going to play. I'm not buying it. I am not buying it. Not for a moment. Not for a moment, but we'll see. And then the Buckeyes and the Longhorns. Well, I've said this, and with all no disrespect at all to the Texas Longhorns, I've already said I'm taking the Buckeyes. And when we make our official selections, this is the line we're going to use, and I'm surprised it's under 7 points. The Buckeyes have woken up. They have absolutely woken up, and if you've noticed, they are healthy. They are the healthiest team in the semifinals. They don't need that help, but they've got that help. They don't need that advantage, but they've got that advantage. And for whatever reason, the weakness of the Buckeyes is gelling. The offensive line is gelling. It's going to have its hands full against Texas defense. But where the Buckeyes are weak, they are, and they're not even weak at that. I'm just saying, among all their other units, the O-line is gelling. Howard is all the confidence in the world. And the Longhorns, hopefully Wisner is ready to go. Gunnar Helm is ready to go. Texas is going to have to score because the Buckeyes are going to score. So anyways, I got the Buckeyes. I've got the Buckeyes up big in this game. No disrespect to the Longhorns, because in the championship game, the odds are I'm going to have the Buckeyes winning big as well, unless there's some injuries or what have you. So I got the Buckeyes, and I'm still going to talk about, still going to think about Penn State and Notre Dame. Looking at the reports. We still got time. So no official selections right now. None. No official picks right now. Now let's talk about the chattering class on the future of the college football playoff format. We're only going to talk about this for a little bit. And then we're going to go into the Holy Smokes Theater. And then we're going to take your phone calls and anything you want to talk about in college sports. I hear the latest is, look, the people making the decisions, right? Supposedly the leaders of FBS. And now this might get, people might be saying, what are you talking about, Greg? This is the chattering class. The people behind the curtain, the people reporting this stuff. There is not the worry of blowouts. Maybe at ESPN talking heads. But the blowouts is not the worry. The blowouts are baked in. ESPN is not losing money on this. Remember, there was only $1.3 billion. Remember? It isn't like they're blowing, it isn't like the $2.2 billion that everyone thought for 11 contests. The blowouts were all baked into the price. Blowouts happen in 14 playoffs. It's happened all over the place and all type. What is driving the change for next year is the home playoff games. The highest seed teams want home playoff games. It isn't so much that having a bye doesn't give you this advantage. I know all the teams that had a bye lost in the quarterfinals. Is that statistically significant after only 4 games? Not really. Not really. But what was apparent to everybody, and we talked about this before the playoffs began, the home game on campus was a smashing success for the home team. Forget about, you can't forget about it, but it's only partly because the 4 teams won. The home teams won, right? Again, 4 games, home team is 4-0, not statistically significant. But what is statistically significant, is the perception that the home teams got so much out of it. Like so much out of it. So much out of it. To be able to have that exposure, to be able to have for recruits, for the portal, for all this stuff that is going on, those 4 home teams that won the 5, 6, 7, and 8 who won the first round, and they all won the second round, they gained a lot in local sponsorships, whatever it is, whatever metric you want to use. It was a massive success. Notre Dame, it was massive. The interest that they were able to get from their entire fan, all four programs. So I say this because the future, going to 16 teams, while it may not happen, it probably won't happen for 2025. Boy, oh boy, I think it is inevitable. The chattering class is they believe the consent from what it's inevitable. There is just too. You want the home game. You want the game on campus. Not just for the particular playoffs, but for the next year, for the whole thing. For everything. For the cash registers everywhere. For the local community. For the hotels, t-shirt sales, everything. Every metric. And of course, the exposure to players across the country. You want that home game. There is nothing like it. You sell your program more on a home game than you do in a neutral field in the next round. So that incentive is almost as great to have that first round home game than it is to have a bye. I think the bye is going away. Or I would tell you that there are a lot of people who think it is going away. Now the question is it going away for next year? Are we going to 16 for 2025? Boy, the chances of that are pretty slim, I think. But who knows? You know how this is. It's inertia, right? If they're going to go to 16 for next year, they got to get ESPN on board. They got to redo the contract. They don't have to do it if they go to 14. They do not have to do it when they go to 14. 14 is already baked in. They've already got the numbers. They already got the distribution numbers. So so we might be seeing a different playoff format 3 straight years in a row. 24, 25, and then 26. That might happen. It probably will happen. I think it's the chalk to happen. I think we're going to 16. And I don't think, while Paul Feinbaum and everybody else believes that blowouts are horrible and that there aren't 16 worthy teams and all this stuff, the honest truth is nobody, the decision makers don't give a damn about that. Because there's going to be blowouts. There's going to be blowouts. There's going to be blowouts. And all I can say, and I'm just going to say this, and then I'm going to drop it because I've already been talking for an hour almost an hour, and we haven't even gotten to the Holy Smokes Theater. I'm going to drop this, and I'm just going to back out. I still believe, as we dropped it on September 9th, before it became a national story, we have every reason to believe that the Big Ten is going to go all out to get 4 automatic qualifiers. And that means SEC is going to get 4. On September 9th, when we broke this, and I said we've got sources from a couple different islands that are separated that are telling us the same thing. Remember, it was always Big Ten trying to get 3, but we said it was 4 on September 9th. And then weeks after, national reporters started reporting it. I'm telling you tonight on January 4th, the number is 4 that the Big Ten is going to be pushing their chips into the middle of the table. A lot of people don't like it. Some people like it. I don't like it. It doesn't matter what I like, what I don't like. I'm giving you the accurate peek around the corner, even tonight on January 4th. So you're going to be hearing more about that very shortly. Very shortly. Okay, so you guys can talk about the playoffs, format, give me a call, whatever you need to do to express yourself in the chat room. But now we got to go in to the Holy Smokes Theater. Large egg, small egg. Now again, somebody sat me down over the phone, not in person, and explained to me the best they could on what is going on. What is going on with this January 20th meeting? As we head into more meetings, one in particular in the early spring, which we're going to talk more about when it gets reported on. So this came out, I don't know, it's been a while. a week ago. I talked about it in episode 51. I talked about a little bit about it pre-game of the Hokies and the Gophers. Private equity in college sports, hosted by John Wall Street. Date, January 20th, 2025, Atlanta, GA. Join the 10-plus commissioners, dozens of athletic directors, and private capital leaders for a closed-door discussion of the opportunities and threats private capital presents college athletic program. Now, people, forgive me. I know some of you have listened to this already. I'm going to expand on it. A lot of you haven't heard me talk about it, don't know about this. Some of you do. But for those who have already listened to this, we are expanding on it. So, okay? I'm just giving you a heads up. The speakers include Jerry Cardinale, Red Bird Capital, Kevin Mayer, co-founder of Guess It's Smash Capital. Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12. Tim Pernetti, the commissioner of the AAC. Remember what Tim Pernetti said a little bit ago, a couple weeks ago. He says, we are at a dangerous tipping point when it comes to private equity. It will be here soon. Gloria Nevarez, commissioner of the Mountain West Conference. I got more on that. Graham Neff, who was as far as I know, the last speaker to be included. The late speaker to be included. The Clemson athletic director. John Curry, Vice President, Athletic Director, Wake Forest. Brian Felt, Seton Hall. Craig Sloan, Play-Fi Sports. Now remember, this is a closed-door discussion of the opportunities and threats of private capital presents college athletic programs. Opportunities and threats. And you can get yourself into this meeting. I don't know if you and I can, but if you're connected to one of these programs, college athletics. So they're casting a wide net here. They are casting a wide net. Now, I'm just going to talk about a few of these individually. And then we're going to talk about the large egg and small egg. Obviously, Graham Neff, Clemson has had private equity discussions. That's not a surprise to anybody. Florida State has had the same thing. It's been reported in public and it has been told in private. Florida State it's very difficult to strike a deal with private equity when you are suing your conference and the conference is suing you. It's very difficult to strike an individual deal, private equity, and a conference deal. Graham Neff, Clemson has had multiple discussions on that. Should come as no surprise. Gloria Nevarez. Now, I've said this a few times now. While Tim Pernetti is the only one that I know of the G6 conferences that have really talked about private equity out in the open, Tim Pernetti said we are at a dangerous tipping point when it comes to private equity. When Tim Pernetti was hired as the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, he stated, my office is going to be like a shark room. I'm paraphrasing it. I'm not getting it exactly perfect, but Tim Pernetti said, my office is like a shark room. We're going to look at everything, and he included private equity. Having said all of that, I have said a few times lately that if PATC had to push their chips into the middle of the table on what entity, what G6 conference is going to strike a deal with private equity first, I don't think I would put my chips on the AAC. We have been told different. Now, it may happen, and I'll take the L on it. Of course I will. I'll be the first one to take an L. But, and all I'm going to say is that might be the reason why Gloria Nevarez I'm just going to say this. There are people in the Mountain West Conference that are interested in private equity. And I'll leave it alone for now. And you can understand why the other people are there at that meeting. Now, let us get to what we're going to expand upon. Now, that is a January 20th meeting. And we believe, we are under the assumption, because we've been told, that this meeting on January 20th is going to be much different than the meeting that is going to happen in the spring, early spring. The early spring meeting is going to be an agenda-driven meeting. Like, to put expectations on for the rest of the year. When it comes to institutions, possibly conferences, working together, private equity, making decisions, whatever. Whatever that agenda is. This is not that. This is a gathering of giving you more information about private equity. To anybody who wants to listen. They want the biggest net possible. Who wants the biggest net possible? Who wants to use the biggest net? Who wants that? Both the private equity companies and the institutions that are pro-private equity. Both. Private equity companies want it. And let me explain how it was explained to me. When comparing a large egg breaking to a small egg breaking, a large egg will generally break with more force and produce a larger crack due to its greater mass, meaning it's more likely to break upon impact compared to a smaller egg. When subjected to the same force, and that is what's happening. Those big, massive private equity companies are trying to they're going after the large egg first. It's easier to crack. Essentially, the larger egg has more material to break apart. Key points to remember: impact force. A larger egg will exert a greater impact force when dropped or hit, making it more prone to breaking. The shell size. While the shell thickness may be similar across egg sizes, the larger surface area of a large egg can distribute the force differently, potentially leading to a more dramatic break. We're going to take this a couple different ways. How it was explained to me. Remember, I am not the brightest bulb in the refrigerator. I just happen to know where every refrigerator is in every place I go into. But I'm not the brightest bulb. So this is how it was explained to me. Number one, these large private equity firms, they want to get like a certain inertia, a certain momentum. They want as many people talking about it. They want as many people going to these educational meetings, forums, whatever. They want more and more people there because they think it's easier to crack instead of going one-on-one. There has been, and I said just a little while before, early in the monologue, I described one example. There are many examples, and of course we don't know most of them. There are many examples of a certain smaller private equity firm, people getting together, putting their resources together and knocking on the door of an athletic department and basically saying, we're not a group of boosters. No. We're going to give you even more money, and then we're going to present our expertise, and here are the connections that we can provide to raise the value of your whole athletic department. Whatever, all this selling point, right? That is happening all over the place. Some athletic departments are not taking any of the calls. Some have had meetings. Some big institutions. Some of them in the Big 12. Some of them in the ACC. But the larger private equity firms, they're going for the large egg. They think if a larger egg is going to be easier to crack. And that is why you're seeing a meeting here. This is what this is. Large egg versus small egg. This is still the attempt to crack the large egg. And plus, as we've been told over and over again, there's more value in cracking the large egg. Supposedly for the equity firm and for the individual institutions. Also, this was explained to me today that the institutions, now this is probably even more important to this story. The institutions that believe in private equity, that they see, they have connections, they have friends, they have associates, they see how private equity has been incredibly successful in the NBA. They see how the NFL is starting to let their franchises be owned by 10%. 10% of the franchise can be owned by private equity. The ones that are pro-private equity, and I've been very careful in disseminating the information of who are pro-private equity. I have said, Florida State, that's obvious. Clemson, that's obvious. Currently West Virginia, that's obvious. Currently Syracuse, that's obvious. There is a couple there's a couple others in the Big 12 that are way down the runway. The plane's about to take off on an individual private equity deal. But the ones that are pro-private equity also want the larger egg to be cracked. They want more and more people involved. And one of the reasons that was told to me, not only because they believe that everyone will get a better value deal out of it, but number two, no matter how do I say this? I'm going to use Clemson as an example. I think I'm safe. In using Clemson as an... Well, I've already said Clemson, so I might as well go forward. By the way, Graham Neff is at this meeting. He was the last speaker included. Even though you are a Graham Neff, even though you're going to be speaking to the value of private equity, because, Graham Neff, allegedly, I don't want to be sued by Clemson, allegedly Allegedly. Fat guy from Minnesota, we know nothing here. Allegedly, they have come to the realization, they have come to the decision, the perception that private equity would be a good thing for the institution, allegedly. And that even though you're at that point, even though you're Graham Neff, even though you're the athletic director, you still somewhere, some way, somehow in your institution are going to have distractors. There are going to be people who are uneasy about it. It doesn't matter what institution you are. You're going to have some people for it, some people against it. And politically, again, the more people you can get on board, it's better internally for you to win the argument. That's what we were told today as well. This is part of this movement. It's easier to crack a larger egg than a small egg for the private equity firms and for those inside these institutions that want to go in this direction. So, I'm just going to hit on one more thing, and I've hit upon this a little bit already. While we're having this meeting on January 20th, I want to make this clear. And then we're going to go to phone calls, and you could talk about anything in college football. We're having this, they're having this meeting on January 20th. We know that they're having a meeting in early spring. Again, I know there's frustrations about us not being able to give you more details. And in fact, we're missing a lot of the details anyways, but I'm not going to burn that bridge. I'm not going to do it. So just, there is going to be a big meeting in the spring of 2025. Having said that, even though we're talking about the January 20th meeting, even though we're talking about this big spring meeting, they have been meetings going on all the time. That is like the most underreported part of this. I said earlier, there is a father of a NFL quarterback. There are groups of people, investment firms, and these athletic departments. The doors have been knocked on all of them. So while we're looking at the big pieces, while we're looking at the large egg, trying to crack the large egg, man, if those large eggs don't get cracked, and I think they will, we're still going to have stories here. So the small egg is trying to be cracked as well. I just want to, again, if we wake up on February 4th, and we hear of a athletic department, should I use the phrase? I'm going to go ahead and use the phrase. If we wake up on February 4th, February 5th, and we hear a report about an athletic department adding a strategic partner, allegedly, just don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. The phrase strategic partner, I'm going to guess that phrase is going to be used because that is the word That's the phrase that gets told. I think I'm okay to say that as well. So the phrase private equity, while it's a private equity firm or whatever you want to call it, private capital, the term strategic partner, that's going to be used to describe this next wave of whatever's going to happen in college sports. Okay, I am going to open up the phone lines. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call on anything college football, Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, the bowl games, new offensive portal. The portal is still portaling. A bunch of South Dakota State Jackrabbit players are going to Washington State to play for the head coach, Jimmy Rogers, who was the great head coach of South Dakota State. We have Gronowski, the great quarterback of South Dakota State, visiting Iowa. I don't know how that is, what's going on.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate, the floor is yours.
Well, hey, Greg, how are we doing here tonight?
Doing good.
Good.
Survived the bowl games. Heading into the semifinal games. So we are going to be doing 3 more watch parties. And I don't know. I mean, our watch party total is probably, boy, it's way up there.
Yeah.
So we're getting through it, and it's going to be pretty exciting, I think.
Well, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
To lead into my first point here. You watched every single game, right?
Do I watch every single game?
You've watched every single CFP game so far?
Playoff game, yes.
Yeah. And you watched most of those teams at least once before sometime during the season? Most of them.
Yes.
Relatively.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely. Yep.
What did you see in the first half of those games? So, what was your feeling when you were watching the bye games in particular? I guess the first one's too, but the first halves of those games, what did you think about the teams, with that amount of time off?
Oh, they were probably a little rusty, right?
Do you think it was just a little, or?
I mean, like Georgia, I can't tell because Gunnar Stockton.
Can't tell them at all.
There's other, and and of course the teams that won their first round games are all really good teams. But yeah, overall, I would agree. I think they were a little bit off their game. Now, again, it's just a small data points, right? It's just 4 games. But
it is.
But I would agree.
But they only have 1 year.
Yep.
But they only have 1 year to do this for a bunch of these schools, before this thing basically just becomes the SEC and Big Ten decided show. So they got 1 year to kind of talk to the Big Ten and the SEC to say, look, this was not good for your champions, and it's going to be the same way next year. And like you're saying, I think it makes a lot of sense that the first thing that they might be most interested in is having those home games, because those were awesome. If I was a team and I was going to go to the conference championship game and win it, I wouldn't want that to cost me that opportunity after seeing it.
Yes.
It's just they're just huge. Not just money, but definitely money. Even though they don't get the ticket money, there's everything else involved. Especially for some of these that have a big local impact. But what I saw in those games, man, especially Oregon is one that stood out to me the most, because the Oregon-Ohio State game before was just like we had two great comparisons here. That they were just not the same team. They were so far off, and to me, because we can't judge the Georgia game because all the everything that happened to that game, like it's just unfortunate. But I think both of those conferences can look at Oregon and how Oregon played and say that's a problem. You can look at the second half of that game and see that Oregon scored 13 points and Ohio State only scored 7. And one could come to the conclusion that not only is it bad to not have your conference championship team have a home game, but you're actually ruining their chances of winning, in my opinion. So, to me, I used to think that talk about going to 16 was crazy, but I don't see how it's anything other than that. For reasons you stated, but also I do strongly believe, just from my analysis on watching these teams, that it strongly affected them, like strongly.
Okay.
It's just that's a month off, and the team that you're playing played the week before.
Yeah.
They got all the rust off. Like
we've never experienced that before, right? We haven't.
Nope.
Yep.
Yep. So it's one of those things where, like, yeah, it's only 1 year of that's true, but to all the rest of those teams, they only have 1 year to make this negotiation before basically Big Ten and SEC just start deciding everything. So, in my opinion, that would be a fascinating negotiation to be part of that first CFP meeting, because they're going to have to do that soon. Like you said, ESPN, they're going to have to make plans off of this. If we're going to expand to 16, that's 15 games moving up from 11. Are they going to, what days are they going to be on? Do they have to get TNT to take a bunch more because of NFL considerations? Fox, CBS, and NBC can't help with that. If they're not going to be on NFL days, then maybe they can figure those out. But they're adding those to the first week, right? And that's when they had the NFL problems. That's when they had to get TNT involved. So that's what you're getting at with ESPN. It's a problem. They got to figure out who's going to play this. So I think this is going to happen sooner rather than later, like very quickly. And that means, the Big Ten, I don't know where you came with it, but that's important. If they're starting off saying we want 4, that means maybe they'll move off of 4 to 3, but that's where they're starting their negotiations at. So, okay. I'm thinking that if they have 3 each for the SEC and the Big Ten, that you're coming down from the 4, you look like you're playing. But if they have 4 at large, the Big Ten and the SEC is probably going to get at least 2 of those. Probably not. Maybe some years they wouldn't. But I think you could look at that and say 3 AQs plus an at large. Generally speaking, they're looking at 4 teams out of a 16 run. So we'll see how that goes. It's kind of crazy to watch the results of that and have that just completely change our minds, though. To go from thinking that 16 could not happen to now it being basically a given. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You think so?
Well, before the playoffs started, we commented, like, one of the things we're going to be looking at is the success of having a home game. And we weren't even talking wins or losses. We were just saying, what will that do for the program, the university, and everything else to have a home playoff game? And what is that going to do for the atmosphere when it comes to the media company? And all that was just a gigantic success. So, and I cannot see, forget about what I think. I mean, the chatter in class, from what I've been told, they just cannot see how you're going to have these great moments that I created, and the fans are going to remember it for years, right? Pictures, video,
Yep.
a whole bunch of stuff going on. You can have events leading up to that home game, which schools are going to end up doing, just like a bowl game. And then the top teams, they don't get to have that because,
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think we're going to 16, Immaculate. I think it's going to be tough for next year, but,
I think they can do it. I think that they're all going to want it. That's the difference here. Like,
Could
we've
be.
seen the CFP be a real pain in the butt in terms of negotiations, but
Yeah.
they're all going to want it. So,
Yeah.
you know, everyone's going to have to compromise a little bit. The Big Ten and SEC might come from 4 to 3, but, you know, then they'll want to have at least 4 at large so they can still get their 4. But I think it's inevitable. I mean, when you're going for that conference championship game now, you're not just going to want to be the champion. I dare say now they're going to want to play more for that so they can get those home games.
Yeah.
Like, that should be part of that. Like, when you're going to that conference championship game, you should be thinking, we want to ensure that we have that home game. Because the loser of those games could drop down enough in the rankings to where you're not going to get the home game. So that's the new cost in those conference championship games. It's not just winning the championship, but also, are you going to have a home game in the CFP, or are you possibly going to fall down enough to where you don't? We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. We don't really know yet, but that could be it, and that could be a very big deal in those games. Last thing real quick, and I'm going to get off the next person go, but I found it interesting that Gloria Navarez is one of the speakers.
Yeah.
She's such a shark, man.
Yeah. No,
If I had to, yeah.
I can't really say anything more about that, but yes,
I gotcha.
You're either on something or onto something.
Yeah, and if I had to make my bet on which commissioner goes first, just off of what we've seen, like not just, you know, making it up, but like ever since her play with Las Vegas, with University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and what she did there, she's been one step ahead, which, you know, trending that out, she's going to be ahead of the curve in this because she's playing to win, even though she may not ever actually be able to make more money for her teams in the pack or some of the other. She's playing to win, to get as much as possible. And so I tend to think that they're probably going to have the first deal. We'll see. And it'll be interesting to see. But, yeah, so looking forward to hearing about that and what was said there. And her and Tim Pernetti might be racing. We'll see.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, though, man. That was an interesting to see. I'm glad you had the graphic for that because otherwise it was kind of an unknown.
Yeah. You got it, my man.
All right, buddy. You have yourself a good one. Good talking to you.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Great call. Immaculate. Mr. Hawkeye. Ryan Willie, Wisconsin, Immaculate Wisconsin's men's basketball demolished the Iowa Hawkeyes, 116-85. Thank you, Evil Badger. Ryan Willie, thank you for your super chat. Thanks again for your generosity. And I'm sure Wisconsin is going to whoop the Gophers by even more than those 31 points. Holy smokes. You're going to have to give me 40 points on that game. Ryan Willie, the Badgers have got to give the Gophers 40 points. How about them apples? Breaking news, Clemson just fired defensive coordinator. Hold on a second. Hold on. Clemson has informed, breaking news. Clemson has informed defensive coordinator Wes Goodwin. He will not return to the staff in that role. Sources confirmed to ESPN. Clemson has been putting together next steps in recent days and should have clarity soon on the future. My goodness, Wes Goodwin will not return as the defensive coordinator. He might have a different role. I don't know how that's going to work. Clemson making a big change. Boy, that defense was, how do we say this? They were took to the woodshed. They were took to the woodshed by the Texas Longhorns. Couple things I wanted to get to here. Thank you, Ryan Willie. Thank you, Expedition Greg. I do appreciate it. Rock and Rant. There's a couple things here, Rock and Rant. What's the end game, though? Say ACC and the Big 12 get PE money. They close the gap. Aren't those two, the Big Ten and the SEC, eventually responding by getting private equity themselves, and bam, the money gets reestablished? That very well could be. But there's a couple different things that are going on. One, there is the gap, of course, and that is probably mostly driving the ACC and the Big 12, many of their institutions, and at least one commissioner to publicly vouch and publicly try to get this thing going. The gap is the driving force. But there's another part of this. The other part is they think it would be a great value add to the athletic department even without the gap. I mean, Brett Yormark believes in it. I know a lot of people in the PATC family do not believe in it. And I don't know. I'm not smart enough to even have an opinion. But there are those that they're seeing it. There's a value add, not just the money, but the value add of what they can do for your... It's why the NBA has private equity firms as part of ownerships. It's why the NFL just opened it up. The connections that they have. The expertise they can bring upon the organization. But a lot of it is the connections. So I think they're interested in that. Now, going back to your point, Rock and Rant. Yes. Now, I don't know if the Big Ten and the SEC would get off the dime if the ACC and the Big 12 gambled on themselves. And I'm going to use the word gamble on themselves. I don't know if the Big Ten and the SEC would get off their butts to do it. Really, I don't. Maybe they would. But number two, maybe if this is wildly successful, just if, maybe, possibly. What if it's wildly successful? And I don't know what type of form it's coming into. But then you start your own momentum and your own snowball, and the gap is closed, and maybe the Big Ten, the SEC won't be able to take as much advantage of it, or maybe they would. But I mean, it's a good question. But right now, there's there's just a lot of believers out there. And I know we've got disbelievers in here. Like Arne Gad doesn't believe it. A lot of people don't believe it. But the perception is that it's becoming wildly successful in a lot of sport franchises. Can it work for an athletic department? We are going to find out. We are going to find out because it's going to happen. I mean, I don't know at this point how it won't happen. I mean, just the amount of time and effort and just people are trying to build up this inertia and these people are trying to crack the large egg. I don't know. So when you get to this point, it's hard to fathom it not happening at some sort of level. But good question, Rock and Rant. I can't quite answer. Can't quite answer. Let's see. There was another question here. Anyways, phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Yep, check it out. Private equity is to get the value out of a failing business. The Sears and Red Lobster examples, the value was in the real estate. Imagine private equity rents back buildings to colleges. Thank you, check it out. John Dry, the great Mike Leach always said 68 football teams should be in the college football playoffs. I think he said meant playoffs. Greg, do you ever see publicly invested fund invested into college athletic conferences? No idea. Connecticut fan? No idea. Thank you, Ryan Brooks. Appreciate it. Thank you, Immaculate. Appreciate it. I know it's a Saturday night. I know everyone's busy. So I guess we'll just close it down. We're not getting any phone calls. But I do appreciate you all coming on in. Again, an update. Holy Smokes Theater. The update was...
Call from
Larry the GM.
Larry the GM. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, sir? You getting ready for the Buckeyes?
Well, I'm a little worried about the Buckeyes, Greg. I mean, I think this is maybe the end of the road for Texas, and that's fine. I mean, we were in the Final Four last year. We're in the Final Four this year.
Yeah, but you got nothing to lose now. I mean, you've got, it's Texas against the world, Larry the GM. And if you win this game, holy smokes, the memories that will bring out, holy moly. Go ahead, sir.
I mean, if you had asked most Texas fans at the beginning of the year coming into the season, because we were all convinced our defensive line was going to have problems. I wasn't, but most fans were. If you had told them that we're going to be in the semifinals playing Ohio State, I think most of us would have signed up for that. I mean, whatever happens now, like you said, it's like a bonus. It's like icing on the cake from this point forward. So, Greg, what I wanted to do is kind of do a mind exercise with you about what do the different factions want in this engagement with private equity? Because I think it'll help clarify that the Big Ten and SEC really have no interest because they don't perceive the benefits to be worth the risk, right? I mean, they're already getting massive media money relative to their peers or their competitors and I don't even know if competitors is the right word, right? But relative to the rest of the college football industry, they see the revenue streams they already have as massively advantaged. So what's the advantage for them? The ACC and the Big 12, I think it's important. Like, what do they? I think going back to Rock and Ranch question, what are they going to get out of this?
Okay,
they're going to get a temporary bump.
I'm gonna give you one answer. Okay, besides my general, well, they're gonna get the expertise and the connections, blah 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 blah. You want something more specific, right?
Right.
I'm gonna say this, and then I'm probably not gonna go really into it though. Okay.
Okay.
This is all allegedly. Allegedly, I know we know absolutely nothing at Peek Around the Corner.
Right.
Okay.
I'm being serious. No, nothing.
I'm being serious.
No, we're having a conversation of what we think they want, right? So you're clear to say whatever you're about to say.
Yeah. It's quite possible, allegedly, it's quite possible that these private equity companies, firms that would be interested in cracking the large egg and with Big 12 and the ACC, it's quite possible that they have direct connections, influence, interest within gigantic, bulging, monstrous future powerful media platforms. And the Big 12 and the ACC are interested. A lot of those institutions are interested in building a pretty damn good bridge to that future by letting's the wrong word, but having a, but hold on. Allegedly having, quote unquote, a strategic partnership with a particular firm
that will facilitate them going to the next perceived generation of sports media.
Those are your words. Those are not mine. I'm not smart enough. It's all allegedly. I don't know what we don't know what we're talking about here at Peek Around the Corner. And I gotta and let me.
You gotta protect me. I don't have sources, Greg, so I can throw in the gap.
I'm not Connecticut fan. I'm definitely not talking ESPN.
You're not.
But I'm not talking about anything. But I'm not talking about ESPN. And
the entities you're talking about may not exist today, Greg. That's the point of having they may not exist in the form that they would be envisioned to exist. Is that better to say, Greg?
What was that again?
They do not currently exist in the forms that they are being envisioned to be able to exist.
Oh, I think allegedly they are in the form of what that they're going to exist, but it could delve into something else, obviously. But no, it's and that's just one example. I allegedly, I know we're not. I can't.
So, Greg, is it the same for the G5?
It's why. Yes. It's why allegedly, yes. It's why allegedly. It's why one of the major reasons, getting back to Rock and Rant's question, which was a great question, which I did not properly answer, but it's one of the reasons why the Big Ten, which is a proxy of Fox, and SEC, which is a proxy of ESPN, it's one of the reasons why they have been so aggressively saying no to all this. Because they are allegedly, possibly trying to stop for the interest of their media companies that own some of their conference media stuff. So, but all that is allegedly unknown, and so I don't want to go any further than that, Larry Jim.
No, Greg, that's my. But can I go down this route? I'll lay it out, and you just tell me you don't want to talk about it, but that's fine. But I guess the overriding question I have is there's a finite number of people in this country, I guess in the country, and that may be part of the answer is they're wanting to open more worldwide, but there's only a finite number of eyeballs that are going to engage with college football to watch it on a Saturday. And if the NFL owns Sunday and Monday and Thursday, then and for the large part, the Big Ten and the SEC own Saturday, or most of the media slots on Saturday, then you're really talking about the really big opportunities for massive eyeballs to be on, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and then maybe it takes a consulting firm or private equity money to push them in that direction, but to say hey, Big 12, you guys could really own Friday if you played a doubleheader every Friday with your most marquee games, and we can make a lot more money with that. But as long as if and I know most people won't accept this fact, but if the Big Ten and the SEC pretty much own Saturday, which when if you look at the ratings and you look at the schedules that their major media partners have, they kind of do. Then the biggest opportunities are with those other days of the week. And you've talked about that before, that, hey, the direction may be going to have more games in the non-traditional Saturday time slots.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they need private equity to do that. But maybe it helps facilitate with some of the other avenues you're talking about to set that up. Does that make sense, Greg? Am I onto something there?
All that makes sense.
Am I onto something there, Greg, or or am I just barking up the wrong tree?
No, you're barking up the right tree. It's just that the fat guy from Minnesota is walking out on thin ice, and because I'm the fat guy in Minnesota, I could go through that ice at any time. But because I'm the fat guy in Minnesota, I know to get off the ice. So I'm not going to say anything more tonight.
Okay. So it's interesting. I mean, because I think that's where the G5 could, and the MAC. We were talking on the Big 12 Mafia show. They were talking about the MAC ratings, and what was kind of clear is I looked at the last 3 weeks, and I chatted into the guys that were doing that show, and you look at the ratings for the MAC games. Their games on Tuesday and Wednesday night that they have like 8x the time type of ratings that their games on Saturday do, and that's because they're the only show. They're the college football games on those days, and I think that's a model for some of these other G5 conferences or G6 conferences of where we're going to play into to do that. I guess the overriding question I had, Greg, is like, okay, well, you go down that path with alternate media or partnering, the other app type of avenues, but there's still a finite number of people that are going to want to watch college football, and unless you get enough attention to your conference, you're kind of stuck behind the NFL and the SEC and Big Ten, and that's kind of the way the ratings have played out most of this season. I know there's been a Colorado that have been able to garner a lot of attention. They've had great ratings this year, but that's where my question really lies into. Like, well, how does the dynamic of interest change? And I think the answer, part of that, is to go to different days in the week. So I'm kind of asking the question and answering because I don't want to put you in the spot of having a comment where you're not comfortable commenting, Greg.
I tell you what, I'm going to answer the rest of this off the let's finish the call, and then I'm going to answer. I think I'm going to give you a little bit more of what you're looking for, okay?
Okay. Well, Greg, I just appreciate all my purpose with the call was to kind of like help us understand where all these different what they're individually trying to get out of the picture. And I think you've done a good job of that, and you'll probably do more of what you said. But thank you for the opportunity to chat about it. And Greg, I know you're gonna bet against I know you're gonna take against my Longhorns, but I'm okay with that.
Thank you, sir.
I would pick against the Longhorns this round too if I didn't have a vested interest in my team. So I'm okay with you going against my Longhorns. It's gonna be the PATC community. I don't think they've never gone with my Longhorns.
No,
Greg, so it's okay.
They have never gone on your Longhorns, and they paid the price this year.
They paid the price for it, Greg. So I'm okay with it. So, all right, Greg. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I understand what Larry was getting at the end of that phone call. And I think we have to, and I just gave one example, and it's a big one, and I just gave one example allegedly, and I'm not going to talk about it again for a while. But when it comes to People get, viewership numbers are important. Really, 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 really important. But I've said viewership numbers are not the end to be all. Like it's not everything. It's important, but it's not everything. So, the media companies, like let's say ESPN and Fox, which is talk generally about that. I mean, some viewership numbers are more valuable in some markets than other markets. That's why the markets are still so important, because of the demographics and all this stuff. Another aspect to this is, Larry the GM brought up a good example of how the MAC conference, they play those November games on a Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, and they get higher ratings. And one of the values that these G6 conferences, or even the ACC and the Big 12, can provide their media partners is, a larger bandwidth of games. Not putting their content out on non-traditional college football dates. But sometimes content can bring value to a platform that goes beyond the viewership number. And these are all apples and oranges. None of these are particularly the same. But you cannot compare a viewership number of an SEC game to an ESPN game. It's going to be lower on the SEC network. They don't even have they don't have a Nielsen rating. Let's go B10, Big Ten Network. Big Ten Network doesn't have to have the same. Their viewership numbers are less than, Fox and everything, but they still can squeeze out a good amount of money for their institutions in the conference using the conference network model. There are platforms out there that the content, having a live sport content, would be more valuable to that platform versus having that content go to ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Plus. So you might not even have to juice up the viewership numbers on a different platform for that content to be more valuable to that platform versus your traditional cable outlets. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that is, and I'm not smart enough, but that all allegedly may be. WWE just went to Netflix, and Netflix sees a great value in that, and AEW just is starting streaming on Max, and then having a library, and I think the Big 12, so I'm talking too much here. Let's just, for example, the Big 12 or some other conference might want to be able to, have a library of all their games set up somewhere where somebody can easily access it. Go to a streaming platform and go watch the Backyard Brawl of 2004 or and that provides value to that platform. And you don't need high viewership numbers. So anyways, I am going to get off this because I have broken through the ice. I'm down in the cold waters, and none of you are strong enough, none of you are brave enough to get out in the cold ice where it's broken through and to put a rope around me and to pull me up. So, having said that, Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let's see here. I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna end this by saying this. For tonight, we are gonna end it because I got to get going. Number one, I don't worry about it. Thanks, Nitwit. I'm sorry. I'm gonna close this down here. I will, Nitwit. I promise we'll have a live show tomorrow, and you can call in. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I gotta close it down. I gotta be caretaker for my mother here in a few minutes. Right or wrong, I am not gonna sit here and say this is a great move by if somebody you guys, I am dumber than a stump. So I cannot tell you if this is going to be genius or stupid or any. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just going to try to give you the peek around the corner. But what I can tell you, and I know this is difficult for a lot of people to comprehend. It's difficult for me to comprehend. But it's probably even more difficult for you all to comprehend because you're a lot smarter than I am. But for whatever reason, I'm telling you, I'm giving you to it straight. There are people in the college athletic landscape that are true believers in this, in private equity, and the connections that they give them in the future years. They are absolutely convinced they have to do it. And not everyone's on board. And this is why the Holy Smokes Theater is going on. Large egg versus small egg tonight. Who knows what we're going to present next week? I hope I've somehow explained it more clear, but again, there's so much we do not know. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I do appreciate it so very much. I appreciate the super chat of Ryan Willie. Thank you so much, Ryan Willie, for your $5 super chat. I do appreciate it, helping us keep the lights on. Appreciate everybody coming on in. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.